I'd like to just begin with the meeting. It is Thursday, December 12th, 2024, regular meeting of council. Be it resolved that the meeting be called to order and the agenda for the meeting be adopted as circulated. Could I have a mover, please?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Pat Can moves. Can I have a seconder?
Second.
Councilor Bichetti seconds it. Any comments, questions?
I
Ed,
was
what?
wondering if we can add something to the agenda.
Okay.
Is this where we would do it? Regarding plan, I guess, Bill 42, Plan 2050.
Okay,
Put that in there somewhere.
sure. Is there any camera item that you just want to ask some questions?
We have two subdivisions.
Just questions, or
Oh, that's
I think
that one.
if maybe go in camera, we'll put it in camera and then come out of camera at the end.
Okay. Okay, can I have any more comments? Hearing none, can I call for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none? Okay. Be it resolved that council accept the following additions, deletions, and changes to the agenda. Bill 42, Re-Plan 2050. Could I have a mover, please? Councilor Bichetti moves. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second.
Councilor Cliver seconds it. Any comments, questions, anything else? Hearing none, can I call for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Now we have some opening remarks. Council wishes to thank you for taking an interest in what's happening in your municipality by attending this evening. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive representation from the applicant and any persons who wish to make them concerning what is proposed. During each hearing, we hear first from the applicant and then from those present who wish to make representation. Starting with anyone that's in favor of the proposal, followed by those that are opposed or object to the proposal. At the end of these other presentations, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond. If anyone intends to make a presentation for the hearing, ensure that your name and contact information are recorded on the appropriate sign-in sheets. If you are already signed in, please do so now. You can see our planner, Pam. Please, and speak to have an opportunity to speak to council. Applicants must also sign in. At the end of each presentation, the member of council may ask for clarification from the speaker on any facts or issues which will not enter into a debate. First person speaking must address the chair. If they have questions that they think the applicant or administration should answer, they should raise them in their presentation to the chair. The applicant will have an opportunity to respond to questions with the other presentation when the other presentations are finished. It is our goal to hear from anyone that has registered to speak tonight. I would ask that each person to be as concise as possible in their comments. If the position or the information that you have shared with council is the same as other speakers who have spoken before you, you can indicate this by identifying the key points of your agreement. If the hearing is not completed today, whether because we run out of time or further information is to be provided, then we will adjourn the hearing. If we adjourn, we will tell you at the hearing the date for the continued public hearing. There will be no other notice given to the date. Even if all presentations are completed today, we may not be making a decision today. Until a decision is made, there can be no further communication of any kind with council about the proposal. When council makes its decision, all persons who make a representation at the hearing will be notified. When council makes a decision on the variance applicants, it is final. There is no appeal. So now we'll go into the planning session. Close the meeting for planning. Be it resolved that the Pima County, for the purpose of holding the public hearing, pursuant to section 96A. Can I have a mover, please?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Pat Can moves. Can I have a seconder, please? Councilor Bichetti. Hearing none, can I call for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Okay, I'll have the planner speak.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is variance 119, 2024. It's for a property located at 328 River Drive, and it's to increase the maximum height of a fence in the rear yard. Specifically, the applicant would like to increase the height of the fence from 6.5 feet up to 12 feet. And here is the subject property on the air photo. The applicant has noted, I'm sure they can speak to it more tonight, that they'd like the existing taller fence to remain in order to obscure the property that's adjacent to them to the north, which includes derelict vehicles and some containers. And here is a photo that the applicant has provided showing the fence or the extension on the fence. You can see the, I guess probably the little bit darker color would be the 6.5-foot fence, which would be allowed, and then above that would be the rest of the fence that takes it up to 12 feet. Should council wish to approve this, we'd recommend just one standard condition, that the variance is limited to what's being presented. Any further changes or replacements or doing a fence taller on the sides, for example, would have to come back to council for additional approval. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, good. Council have any questions to the planner? Council Big-Ponca?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Planner. So I see that it's been built already. How did this item come to council?
I believe it was a notice of violation.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Any other questions for the planner? Okay, I'll speak to the planner. Is applicant here today?
Yes.
Oh, you want to come forward, please? State your name and address, please.
My name is Anna Elizabeth. I live on Yellow, and it's 328 River Trail Drive.
Okay, go ahead.
So when we purchased this home, the adjacent property is 1 Baldock Street, which I'm sure that most council members know the history of that property, so I don't want to get into a long drawn-out spiel over the condition of that property. We're all aware of the condition of it. So what happened was the property was extremely unsightly due to the collection of the derelict vehicles and many miscellaneous items. The homeowner refused to do any type of cleanup, and when we moved in, and I guess he noticed that we had moved in, harassment started. There were threats made. Then he would damage our property. He would get into his vehicle and come and drive over our lawn and damage our grass. In the wintertime, he would drive over the markers and run over the snow markers. So it was endless. Then he began throwing dog feces over the existing developer's fence, the 6-foot-high fence. And then after a verbal altercation between him and my husband, and him threatening my husband, that was when my husband said, you know, we've got to do something to be able to block him out, and that's how the idea came to build the privacy fence. We didn't know at the time that it was not going to be allowed, so we built it so that we could block out the Quonset and to stop him from looking over and throwing things into the yard. We thought maybe by building it, maybe he would just leave us alone. But long story short, that didn't happen. It unfortunately didn't happen until he passed away. So the fence, as you can see it, over to the right corner, that's all open because we have a river view lot, so we didn't want to fully enclose that back area, so that entire section is open. So you can still see the metal over on the other side. That's the back end of the Quonset. And there's still, to this day, the Quonset is there. There's a couple of large sheds, and there's still a couple of derelict vehicles, a mattress, and there is still some junk. I mean, it has considerably been cleaned up, but it's still there. And our, our concern also kind of goes into the future, because even though One Baldock has now been sold, we know that the new owner is taking possession in the spring. We don't know what the plan is for the property. We have heard, it could be condos, so it could be something going up high. We really don't know. We're just hearing things. So we'd really like if council could vote in favor of us being able to leave that privacy section there. Because not only is it still giving us the privacy now for all of the things that are still on the property going forward, because we don't know what is going to transpire with any new development on that side.
Council have any questions? Go ahead, Councilor Shen.
Just more of a comment. Thanks, I heard about a lot of the back and forth, and I'm hearing it from was hearing it then from some of the other neighbors along there also. Like, they have done a considerable amount of the cleanup. The C-cans, probably 70-80% of the vehicles have been cleaned out.
Yeah.
A lot of the, just gonna say junk, because I don't know what it
Yeah,
was. The
it's-
steel and wood that was piled up everywhere,
Mhm.
so the daughter is doing a real good job there at
Yeah.
cleaning it up. But there's nowhere that says that Quonset would ever have to go, because that was there, and it was there when you chose your lot, I guess, at the same time, right? So, like, we have to be looking at it. And I can see what you mean about it, it's not interfering with any other property, but at the same time, we'd have to look at maybe in the future without knowing what's going there.
Yeah, see, it doesn't block anybody's view of anything, because over to, if you're looking straight at the picture, over to the left, it's a vacant lot owned by the RM of West St. Paul,
Yep.
which, from what I've heard, is the intention is to make it into a road through One Baldock. So that's a vacant lot, there's nobody there. And then over to the right-hand side, our immediate neighbor there, he has a direct river lot.
Yeah.
And he has his own privacy, what do you call it, like a privacy lattice work made out of metal, all around his deck.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't have a problem with this, but just saying that, there has been a lot of cleanup done since that.
Mhm.
And with, if it does in the future affect anything, if that road ends up going in there, right now, that lot was just basically left because it might happen, might not be this council, might not be next council, but
Mhm.
eventually connect through, or the developer might be trying to develop, that bought that One Baldock might wanna do that.
Mhm.
But if that starts to interfere with a roadway or anything like that, I'd be good with leaving it
Mhm.
at this point until we see what happens in the future. 'Cause
And-
right now,
and
it's not affecting anybody
Yeah.
else.
Honestly, my husband and I, we'd be content if you could, even approve it with a condition, just as you had suggested.
That it doesn't affect anything in
Mhm.
the future.
Exactly. We would be fine with that.
Councilor Campbell?
Sorry, I did want to say, I'm real sorry you did have to go through that harassment and everything like that, especially, you build a nice home, and, to have to go through that from any neighbor, so I do, I
Mhm.
do feel bad for you having to go through that.
Thank you.
I couldn't imagine having to, endure that, and the amount of patience, and,
Mhm.
because I did hear some of it before, and that, the police and that weren't extremely, they were as helpful as I guess they could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
but, I have absolutely no problem with this at all, almost because of the amount of, stress and that they've had to go through, I have no problem with this.
Yeah, and just to echo some of the comments, I do sympathize. I wasn't aware of the whole situation, but just having what little you've said, I do feel bad that you had to go through that, and sorry to hear that.
Thank you. It was a very stressful time, definitely.
Yeah,
You're
no,
trying to enjoy your home, and,
For sure.
your neighbor's just not gonna let you enjoy it.
No, for sure, nobody
Yeah.
should have to go through that. From what I see, it looks like you have a beautiful backyard.
This picture was taken before the sod went in. It actually is. Anybody that comes into our yard, we get many compliments as to the yard being beautiful. And the nice part about it is that you can still see the river. It's just got a beautiful view to that, over to that one corner, and then the other side is completely open. Like, this is just a smaller section at the back, just honestly to block out that Quonset mostly, and,
Okay.
you know.
Having said that, I do feel that it is a little bit out of place.
Mm-hmm.
It looks nicely constructed,
Mhm.
but I'm gonna have to, I can kind of go along with what Councillor Bichetti is saying. We don't know what's gonna happen to the neighbors in the
Mhm.
north, but if they decide to take the Quonset down and build a development of some sort or whatever they're building, it might cast a shadow on their property,
Mhm.
and cause some blockage of views. So, I mean, at that point, what are your thoughts about that?
Oh, absolutely, and the way our lot is shaped, no matter what's on that side, the only thing that would block their view, they wouldn't be able to see into my yard from a main floor. It wouldn't block the view of anything else, because my lot is shaped very oddly.
I mean, part of it too is the precedence that if
Yeah.
we did support it, to me, it seems a little, it seems actually quite out of scale.
Yeah, and we
be
wouldn't,
honest with
believe me, we would never have done it had we not been
Yeah.
put into that
get
position
it.
with this particular neighbor and the collection of the junk.
Yeah, no, it was a temporary fix for a
Yeah,
solution that you had to deal with.
exactly, yeah.
And so, I mean, it looks like it's nicely constructed, but
Mhm.
I'm not sure if
Mhm.
part of me is saying not to support it, but
Mhm.
I'll listen more to see what my council colleagues are gonna say.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilor Fire?
No, I have nothing to say this time.
So the fence, was it just put up, or was there an engineer, was it engineered to be done?
So my husband is a home builder,
Okay,
so he actually built the house as well.
okay.
So the fence was built by professionals, with his supervision, yeah, and he did speak to one of his engineers.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes, yeah, because there was always the concern, we wanted to make sure that it was gonna be structurally sound enough for the wind
Yeah,
conditions.
because it's a fair amount of
Mhm.
surface, yes, okay.
Yeah, and it's held up through the wind and 2 winters right now, so.
Was, is that how long? That was
Mhm,
good.
yeah.
So you've had
Yes.
it for 2 years already? Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
good.
Mhm.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Yeah, it's not
quite
that
deep,
easy
it's
to
quite,
really-
it's
Mhm.
80 feet with a dog by there, so.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for hearing me out.
Are there any individuals that are in favor of this?
In favor is Kara Noble.
Is she here?
I'm right here.
Oh, do you want to speak to it or not, or you are?
I heard this story and I'm.
Okay.
That's for sure.
Okay.
Do you want me to go up there and say that?
No, it's just wanted to make sure. Anyone else?
I have a
Okay.
question for that person. Are you a neighbor or?
I'm not, no.
Oh,
Anyone else?
No one else registered in support. In opposition is Norma Albert.
Okay.
Norma Alberg, 312 Evelyn Avenue. As some of the councillors know, I can definitely empathize with the lady's situation in all way, shape, or form, but I do not agree with this fence. I would say, from my perspective, it's not, it's overpowering, which then takes away from any beauty that may be there. I think, as Councillor Pactican mentioned, setting a precedent, the community could look extremely different if the fences started looking like that. And I would be concerned about how it has been braced to withstand, that's the north side that would come in, and how it will continue to withstand the winds that come through there. I believe originally they had the right idea with the landscaping. If you look beyond the evergreens back at the fence at very regular intervals, there are very fast-growing trees, and the one outcome could be that the wind will take this down and actually break off all the trees that have been planted there, which at this point are above the height of the of the fence. So we had an almost identical situation, and it was made quite clear to us what the zoning was for fences. And so, yes, it takes some time, but originally, eventually you'll get a natural barrier of various trees and whatever. I do notice in that picture that there's a ladder at the end of it, so I have a question also of how much further has been built along there. It seems, if you really needed to obscure the Quonset, why would you leave a section of it that you can still see? And the big difference is that when you purchased the property, the Quonset was there. So, in our situation, we had lived on the property for 25 years, and then it changed. So, if you purchase the property and the Quonset is there, then you've made some sort of understanding with yourself that you're okay with it. But I don't think that this is the solution. There are other solutions, and they've got the right idea with the landscaping that's starting there. If a 3-story apartment building were to be built there, do they just keep adding to the fence until it goes up to whatever? You can't tell what's going to happen in the future, clearly. And you also don't have control over anybody else's property. You have control over your own property, and within the bylaws, you can do what is available on your own property, regardless of what's next door.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Against and for information is Eleanor Lake.
Okay.
Eleanor Link, 1045 Proshak Road. I think this fencing is not compatible with the general nature of the surrounding area. I've driven by on Main Street and just happened to look, and wow, that fence jumped out. It's quite a distance from Main Street, but clearly visible from Main Street. It does stick out like a sore thumb. So I don't think it's compatible with the neighborhood. And as has been already stated, it's setting a precedent. We've all had bad neighbors, and you have to just wait until somebody moves or something happens, as what happened in this case. A few more months and the problem may be gone. But council can't solve the problem if it stays or is replaced by another one. Thanks.
Yep.
I just have a question for Ms.
Okay.
Lake. So would have been okay with everything that was transpiring to these residents? And you wouldn't have done any?
It's irrelevant.
Can I finish my question, please, and thank you? Would you have been okay with what was happening to the residents? You wouldn't have done any sort of mitigation to sort of minimize the harassment?
It's irrelevant to this. So we're here to talk about this, correct?
Okay.
Thank you.
And lastly, for information is Jerry Belinkie.
Okay.
Jerry Belenke, 354 Garden View Drive. I'm against it. I think it's going to set a bad precedent. As the lady said that her husband was a builder. He bought the lot. He knows the rules if he's building houses. So what was there was there. The fighting, that is, has to do with enforcement. Whatever was the complaints were, enforcement should have looked after that. But this is wrong. I understand there wasn't a building permit on this for the fence, so it's totally wrong. We shouldn't set this precedent for the whole municipality. What's going to be set here is going to be for everybody. You can't go ahead and say to the next person that they can't do it because he's having a problem or he doesn't like what's behind him. So we shouldn't set this 6 foot. If you're on the ground level, you wouldn't see that. So you have to be elevated to see over the 6-foot fence to see what's behind there. So the only reason I think that was to that height was to block that Quonset. So it's still visible and it didn't solve anything. So I don't think council should go ahead and approve this. I think it should be disallowed. It's not that the person who was involved in this didn't have any knowledge as a builder. So there's lots of, you know, it just doesn't sink. Thank you.
Any others? I guess if the applicant come forward and just answer some questions that were presented.
I don't think it was.
The ladder. So yeah, there was a question brought up about the ladder, if it's, means that, are you still adding on to the fence? or-
No, the picture was taken during construction.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank you very much. Go ahead, Councilor Patrick.
Yeah, thank you. Just a follow-up question. So, the bad neighbor element, is that still present, and is the issues of things being thrown in your yard still happening? And
No, that's not happening, but the property still is not 100% cleaned up. Even though the bulk of those derelict vehicles have been removed, there's still a few, and some other miscellaneous items, and the Quonset and another shed.
okay. Apart from the Quonset, but there is enforcement action happening as far as you know?
Yep,
Okay.
yes, yeah.
Good to know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Just make a comment.
Go ahead,
Just to
Councilor.
clarify for Councilor Pactican, 2 sea cans have been removed, probably a dozen vehicles, and piles of miscellaneous stuff all over the place, so through bylaw.
Okay. Thank you. It's good to know.
Any other questions? Okay, so we'll carry on to closing the public hearing. Be it resolved that council do hereby close the public hearing and resume the regular meeting of council. Could I have a mover, please?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Council Pat Campbell
I'll
moves.
second.
Councilor Campbell seconds it. Any comments, questions? Can I call for a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, carried. Going down to 5.13, the resolution. Whereas an application for variance 119-24 was received on the property located at 328 River Trail Drive to increase the height of a rear yard fence in the RS residential service residential zone from a required 6-inch maximum to 12-foot maximum. And whereas under the provisions of the Planning Act, a public hearing has been held to hear representation both for and against the application. Therefore, be it hereby resolved that after careful consideration, Council of the Rural Municipality of Western Paul hereby approves variation order 119/24 with the following conditions. This variance is limited to what has been presented in this application. Any further changes, replacements, or additions would require a new variance approval. A variance order will expire and cease to have any effect if it is not cleaned up within 12 months of the date of the decision. A board, council, or planning commission may extend the deadline under subsection 1 for an additional period no longer than 12 months if an application is received before the initial deadline. Could I have a mover, please?
I'll move it.
Councilor Clyber moves it. Can I have a second?
Second.
Councilor Bichetti seconds it. Any comments, questions? Councilor Pactan, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to put forward some balanced comments and say that I think the applicant's been a very nice person, and they certainly shouldn't have gone through what they alluded to in terms of neighbors driving over their property, throwing things into their property, and just having verbal harassment. I think that's really uncalled for, unfortunate, and I'm very sorry that happened. And I can see some reasoning behind building a fence, but the magnitude of the fence is a little bit much, but I can see why they did it. And so on that front, I also do want to say that I am observing that they have put some thought in terms of their landscaping. They have put in larger coniferous trees that are, you know, they're probably like 7 to 10 years old already, which is great, and they're gonna be growing at a pretty fast rate at that height. And I can see that there was some thought put into it with respect to, you know, providing some, you know, a buffer against the Quonsets and some of the things in the neighbor's yard. And that's good, that's some good foresight and good planning. But I'm also thinking about, you know, on balance with respect to the neighborhood. The only other place that I've seen a fence this high is on Poplar Drive on Route 90. That was during my time on council, where there was a truck stop right beside a residential neighborhood, and the trucks were backing in off of Route 90, right beside Poplar Drive residences, and the lights and the diesel sound and the smoke and everything. The business had to build a 15-foot high fence. They actually were supposed to build 11-foot high. They ended up building a 15-foot high. This reminds me of that, and it seems a little bit out of place in this nice, quaint residential neighborhood beside the river. So for me, it's a little bit out of place. For me, not supporting this applicant or this resolution today doesn't mean I had no sympathy for the situation. It seems from the questioning here with the applicant that the problem is no longer existing. So, you know, in that regard, that's the reason why I would not be supporting this, is because the problem seems to me that it does no longer exist, and a fence of this magnitude, although it does look nice aesthetically, doesn't really belong in this residential neighborhood. So that's, I'll put those comments for the record, and I won't be supporting this resolution.
Councilor Clyburn?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen these fences in BC. My brother has one in his backyard to mitigate against sound, and I think that the owners put a nice fence up. It is quite high, but I understand where they're coming from. They don't know what's coming next, and we don't know what's coming next. So they want to maintain that until such a time that they feel that, you know, they can take it down. I mean, West St. Paul is, everything's really nature driven. We like that. We don't, I mean, I don't have a fence in my yard other than my dog run, and we like to keep it that way if we can. But I understand the situation. I'm going to support this application with an amendment to the condition that we give it a certain amount of time and then it comes back. And I don't know if my fellow councillors would be in favor of that, if we gave it 2 years and then after 2 years revisit it. I don't know if we can do that. Can we do that as a condition, Mr. Planner?
You can put a time limit on it when it would expire.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
They would require the applicant to reapply.
Oh, would it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can't add a condition
You,
of time?
you could add a condition that the variance is good until, and then pick a year or pick a timeline.
Or 2
That's-
years, and then they
you
would
could
have to come and reapply?
And then at that point, they would
Yeah,
have to
okay.
reapply, yeah. We've seen
Yeah.
council do that in the past.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, because then at least it mitigates for the time being, and it's not permanent, and she can figure out what's gonna happen, or they're gonna figure out what's gonna happen once they know what's going on the other side there. I think that's fair.
Councilor Michelle?
I'm gonna echo a few of the things that Councillor Kleiber said and I'm not gonna reiterate the same ones, but instead of a timeline, could there be something that council may at any time bring this forward to alter? Like, you know, asking them to drop it another 2 feet, 4 feet, depending on what's coming up. We don't know what's happening in the future. We're all hearing rumors that the land is sold. It's not officially sold yet, but it's all waiting for courts on that end. But we don't know what's going up there. I don't know if it's the whole property or just the vacant land. We don't know if there's eventually a street coming through there from Baldock onto there, so we don't know what's gonna be happening there. Mr. Planner, you can hear what a couple of us have said, where the resident doesn't have to apply again and apply, you know, and pay for a variance again. How can we put this that it leaves it open for us to ask for changes, as the residents said that they're willing to alter if, you know, if things change?
Yeah, I think I understand where you're coming from. So council can add time limits, council could not approve the application as presented in that you could say there's an alternative height that you're okay with. Having conditions on it, I would say you want to trigger points, leaving something open-ended in terms of until such time as something changes in the neighborhood. I don't know how you evaluate that as an administrator.
Yeah.
And bring that back to council. By putting in a date or even saying, we're okay with 12 feet for the next 2 years and then 10 feet for the next 2 years after that. At least there's some clear delineation that administrators can go out and enforce. Having something a little open-ended, I don't know how you address that.
So could we say that council will revisit this in the next 18 to 24 months to see what the outcome of the existing property?
You can revisit it, but the decision you make on this is here and today.
Yeah.
So it's not I guess an open-ended decision, if that makes sense, so.
Any other questions?
Pam's got a comment there, Ms. Elias?
Okay, go ahead.
Just to add, like, if there were a rezoning or a subdivision application to the neighboring property, conditions could be placed on that application to deal with screening.
To deal with?
Screening, if that was a concern.
Okay.
Councillor Campbell?
I'm going to echo Councillor Kleiber's, what she said. I'm in support of something like that, and whether we do, I'm even okay with adding 2 or 3 year term, and then it has to be cut down to 10 foot or something like that. So, just my thoughts. I'm definitely on board and want to support this application in some way, shape, or form.
It's just figuring out how, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how do we?
Do we want to do a 2-year or 3-year?
2 year, 2 years goes by fast. I think 3 years. I think the resident would probably agree. In 3 years, bring it down to 10 foot and see what. We'll have a better idea what's going on in the neighborhood at that point. This house, it's not like it's in the center of this development.
Yeah.
It's on the very edge of the development. It's not like it's an eyesore for the neighbors all around. There's one house on the river and one house, a vacant lot to the west of her. So, it would be totally different if this was right in the very center of the trails.
Okay, so what's the amendment? Does anyone have an amendment then or not?
So add a second condition
So-
that in 3 years, just reading the way you wrote there.
Yeah. 3 years, the fence would have to be altered to 10 foot height.
At that point, the trees will be a little bigger and there'll be some changes happening through it.
Do you want to revisit the application in 3 years, or do you want to just mandatory say it's got to go down 10 feet?
I would just mandatory say it has to go down.
And could we add a condition,
But
that
it's-
council could have the choice to revisit it? No?
The decision is
No.
today.
No,
The
your
decision-
decision
Make
is
the
today.
decision.
Yeah.
We either have an expiration, or we have an expiration with a condition once the expiration occurs.
Can I just ask our planner,
Go ahead.
how did you say that again about this, with the property next door dealing with the screening? So,
If that property were to rezone or subdivide in the future, on that application, you could add, conditions to deal with screening if there was, if they were proposing something that you would wanna have blocked from this property.
so if they were to subdivide and then still leave the Quonset with the house sitting there, we could say in that instance, you have to put a bigger fence up to block your. So basically, we're making one person tear it down to ask another person to put it up instead of just leaving it up at this point.
Mm.
I'm
Pretty
good-
much.
I'm good with this, this is the way it's written.
Okay, so are we adding a condition then?
Yeah, so I would say, 3 years' time, and then the fence has to be altered to a 10-foot height.
To 10 feet?
And does it stay at 10 feet till, is there no deadline?
I think, I would be okay with it.
But just to bring up another scenario, just came up now. What if all of a sudden that Quonset's gone and it's another residential home put into there? Now, take yourself, if you were to purchase that lot, would you wanna see that as your side yard, I believe, then, because then you'd be going out?
I'd kind of be happy, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think
The
the
less-
mayor, the mayor would be happy also.
I'd
as
be
we
happy, I'd
discussed
be
with
like,
other
good, I don't
properties.
wanna see anybody else's stuff. So for me, I would be okay with it, I wouldn't have an issue with it at all. And I think that, I don't think we're setting a precedent, this is an unusual circumstance, very unusual. An unusual person that lived on the other side, caused a lot of problems. I fully understand where this applicant's coming from and why they're concerned.
But the problem is that from just listening to the discussion here, it sounds like we're looking for a way to endorse 10-foot high fences across the municipality. The problem no longer exists, from what I understand. And it doesn't sound as if in the beginning, when the applicant was here, that they had any intention of building a 12-foot fence. They were landscaping it, they were putting trees, and it's a beautiful backyard. They knew what they were buying because the Quonset was there when they purchased it. But the problem was that their neighbor exacerbated things to a point that they felt that they had to build this 12-foot high fence. If they had come to council at the time for a variance for a 12-foot high fence, and the problem existed, I would support this. But now that the problem is no longer here, it's difficult to support something like this, saying, oh, there was a problem, there was a problem. The problem no longer exists. There could be a residential house. The screening thing that our planner's talking about isn't talking about a fence, it's talking, when we talk about screening, it could be planting trees, it could be, planting trees, like taller trees, that type of thing. But to build sort of a fortress wall like that, it's like a Berlin Wall. We don't want to see these types of structures in the arm of West St. Paul.
Oh, I think that's harsh. I don't think it's a
Yeah,
Berlin
Well,
Wall.
it's a wall. It's a wall, you can't see through it. There's no lattices, there's no nothing. It's just it's solid, so.
Mayor, if I could ask the planner, planner a question, Pamela Ice. Pam, how big is the fence that Terracon put around the trails?
It would be a maximum of 6 feet, 6 inches. It meets our maximum requirements.
The trails fence, though?
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
bigger than 6 feet.
No,
6'6".
Oh,
6'6".
Okay.
So, did you have a comment, Council?
No, I was just gonna say we should just call for the question.
We've got the condition in it?
So, yeah, but is it, I guess, so we bring it down to 10 feet, so does that mean it's gonna stay there forever? Or how does it ever get down to 6 feet? Does the fence ever go down to 6 feet? Because it sounds like once it's to 10 feet, that's where it's gonna stay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
We cut it again in 3 years.
You can't. You can't.
Yeah, they have to reapply, we could put that the condition is, sorry, we could put
Yeah.
a condition that we revisit it in 3 years. We approve it for a 3-year term.
So I picked up from the applicant is the neighbor is dealing with the same issue, but he went ahead and put up screening around his porch. So it's not against the fence, so I don't know, if maybe the applicant can do something like that.
But that's looking east. Their property's directly looking north.
Yeah, I'm just going with what the applicant said, that the neighbor also sees this, and he's put up screening around on one side of his porch. I would imagine it's on one side of his porch to block the view of that Quonset. So I don't know.
Do we have 3 people supporting the amendment?
But
I'm
are
the
we-
mover. I
I'm just
support-
wondering,
You're the
are
second?
we putting that we revisit it in 3 years? Or and just leave it at the 12 feet and then revisit it? Because we don't know what's gonna happen there. And I just wanna finish. And I'm just concerned about if a residential subdivision does get approved in that back property, then we have another resident now complaining, I'm staring at a 12-foot wall. And I'm sure the resident here today applying for this, if it was just a residential home like hers that's all landscape, wouldn't mind that wall even being taken down. So, as long as that's not what you're looking at. If you're looking at a residential home, that, you know, kids playing this and that, you're looking at something normal you'd expect in a development of this nature, so. I'd say revisit it in 3 years.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Councillor, sorry, planning.
Expires in 3 years.
I just got promoted there. So the only way that council can revisit this through a
Reapply, sorry.
they would have to reapply, right?
Yeah, so we'll
So if
expire.
you put, there's a couple of scenarios that I've heard, and I just want to throw them out there just so we're clear on things. So I heard an idea that the fence be allowed for 3 years, and then after that point, it comes down. So we can write a resolution to that. If that's the case, when it goes down to 10 feet, that's it for forever. It's at 10 feet for forever. If council wants a guarantee that this will be re-looked at, you then just put a time limit on this, whether that's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is. And then at the termination of that time limit, the applicant has two options. Remove the fence down to the 6.5 that they're permitted in the bylaw, or make another application, come back to council and say, the situation still hasn't worked out, can I have some more time? So that's
okay with
something,
the
and it's then a
expiration.
question of how much grace time do you want to give them that you think is maybe appropriate?
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 5, whatever it is.
3 years. I have a question for you.
Of course.
So, okay, so we put a timeline on it.
Yep,
Who monitors the timeline?
that's a great question.
Because if no one says anything for 5 years.
Mhm.
Then it's not a problem.
Our planner has.
Yeah.
Then it's not a problem if
I
nobody says
believe
anything.
through our GIS system that Red River has, and along with the municipality, we can put notations in there now. So we can probably find a way that we can
It would pop up.
like post date it or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Would diarize it and it would come up.
Diarize it. Thank you. We have all these different tools and tricks. I'm sure there's something that we can figure out.
So
Okay,
our-
I'm good with that. Let's have it expire in 3 years from today's date.
I think our planner had a comment on that.
Yeah, like Derek mentioned, we would make sure that the date is noted. We've had similar instances where properties were given a certain amount of time to comply with whatever. We'll definitely try that.
Okay, good. So what is the amendment then?
That the variance ceases to expire in 3 years, and at that point, it has to be reapplied for, is that correct there?
We don't even have to say it has to be
Or-
reapplied for.
It just
The-
expires.
It's then up to the applicant. They can either reapply or bring it down. So I think you have your first condition was just the standard condition that we have all things, that it's limited to what's been proposed. And the second condition could be that this variance expires on December 12th, 2027. It's 3
Yeah.
years. Does that sound good?
Yep, that's fine.
Yep.
December 12th, 2027? Okay, so then, can I call for the vote, all in favor?
Who's moving that?
Oh,
I'll move
I
it.
moved it.
Okay.
Or you, Counselor Clyburn moved.
I moved it. I'm fine with the amendment.
Got that?
Seconder was Counselor Bichetti.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's fine with the change.
Go ahead, Councilor Pika.
Okay, so I've been listening to this, and I think that council's creating more work than it needs to with respect to the amendment. You know, the current problem no longer exists, and this is a residential neighborhood right beside the river. Beautiful homes, and the applicant can build a fence that's 6 feet high, which is the maximum allowed. I think that going above that, to endorse a 12-foot fence is really unheard of. This will be the only 12-foot fence in a residential neighborhood within West St. Paul. That's the decision that council's saying. Is council saying that this is acceptable, that this is something that's desirable? I can't support that amendment, and like I say, we're creating more work than we need to in this particular case, and we do already have tools in our toolbox to deal with this in terms of sheltering, creating a shelter, and a privacy screen with respect to landscaping within our planning toolbox.
Okay. Any other comments?
No.
Okay, can I call for a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Carried. Okay, we're down to 5.2. Be it resolved that this meeting of council recessed for the purpose of holding a public hearing pursuant to section 96A of the Planning Act. Could I have a mover, please?
So moved.
Councilor Patton moves, Councilor Clyber seconds it. Any comments, questions? Can I call for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, carried. Okay, I'll have our planner from Red River Planning speak, please.
Thank you, Mayor. As you noted, this is variance 123 of 2024. It's for a property on Lawson Boulevard, and the proposal is to increase the number of vehicles allowed on a property. Your zoning bylaw outlines that for a single-family dwelling, you need to have a minimum of 1 parking space and a maximum of four parking spaces. The applicant is proposing 10 parking spaces, thus allowing for 10 vehicles to be on the property. There's the property you can see on the corner of Lawson and Miller there, and site plan the applicant has provided, I guess, showing the house and the garage and the driveway. And this has also been circulated to the administration, so should council wish to approve this, there are 4 conditions that are recommended for your consideration. 1, that the variance is limited to what's been presented. Any changes, replacements, that sort of thing has to come back to council. The subject property is to adhere to the municipality's vehicle regulatory bylaw 2018-11. No motor vehicles other than passenger motor vehicles shall be parked on the property unless concealed in a wholly enclosed garage, expecting that 2 recreational vehicles in accordance with the development agreement, which is registered to the property. And finally, that automobile sales and commercial automobile repairs are not permitted on the property. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll just go back to the air photo there. There we go.
Okay, can I have the applicant, oh, wait, sorry, can council have any questions for the plan?
I have a question for the
Go ahead.
CAO. To our CAO, have we had complaints about the cars in this driveway, and have we had bylaw out there?
Yes.
Okay, and are the cars that are currently stored there, are they all licensed? Because I see some, in some of the pictures, there's no license plates.
I can't answer if they're all licensed or not.
Okay. And were the pictures that we received in our package from the applicant or from administration?
Administration.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay, can I have the applicant come forward, please?
Okay. My name is Irina, and there's my husband Oleg. We're gonna talk about what's happened in our property. First, I'm just asking to be more patient with us because English is our second language.
Okay.
I will try to make myself really clear, but if you not understand what I'm trying to say, just ask me for clarification, and I will try to manage and change the words for more understanding what's going on.
So can I just ask your husband to say his name, please? Speaking.
Скажи,
And your
как тебя
address?
зовут?
Oleg.
And your address, please?
Address 58 Lawson Road.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I need to say it too?
Yes, please. I think you did, but.
Okay,
Yes,
58 Lawson.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. I will start like this. We got a complaint from some of our neighbors that we parked too many cars on the property, and that was a complaint, original complaint on us. I will start from the beginning. Back in 2024, in February, I just have all this printed. I don't know if you want to review this. I took it from Google. We have body shop in downtown area. And this time in February 27th, happened a big fire on Jarvis Avenue.
Our
the-
neighbor.
Our close neighbor. It was all the building like collapsed, burned to the ground. And if you see, there's a confirmation that's at Jarvis. Our address in our body shop, it's 260 Jarvis Avenue in the downtown area. I can leave that for the review. What's happens that we have not a big lot for our cars in our body shops that we've been using, putting some of our cars, we've been storing at the place that it's actually burning. And when it starts to be a fire, my husband still, it was happening at night. It was around 8 or 9 at night.
I'm ordered fire.
No, he called, he called the fire station to report that fire, it starts. We quickly moved those vehicles to our property that it's just close to 60 Jarvis, just a couple meters from there. And then when it's all happened, and the crews came there, they told us to remove all the vehicles, also from our property, from our business property. It was in around 15 cars. It was like half stored. 7 was stored in our property, and the other 7 or 8 was stored in the properties that was burned. They ordered us to not to bring the cars for another 3 or 4 days back to our property in downtown. We had no choice. We just took all those tow trucks, right? And we brought all the cars to our property, and we tried to store them nicely, like that, in a sequence that we can pull them back, because we have 100 meters from
100 feet.
100 feet from the property to
Road
to the house.
So this was in July?
No, it was in February.
In February?
February, yeah. I have everything here if you want to review it.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question? How many cars were stored in your property after the fire?
15.
50?
15.
15,
Five,
okay.
1 5.
Okay.
1 5.
I just want to ask you another question. With regards to your letter dated October 16th, 2024, it says that you have 3 cars, your husband has 3 cars, and then your children each have 2 cars each, so that's 10
No,
cars.
we
No,
have.
no. It's a private. We don't want to be mixing. I've just.
Okay, so what are you, you're
Yeah,
asking, you're here to ask for...
just if
you're-
you let me to finish,
Okay.
you will understand exactly what I'm saying. When we moved all those vehicles that we've been ordered from the police and the fire department to move the vehicles, because it was the danger for the vehicles to have it there. It can be all explode. We brought it to our property. Then after a while, what's happened? It was a winter storm. It was
Next few days.
Yeah, it was a huge snowfall. Unfortunately, that happened, and it was all covered with the snow. We struggled to take those cars back to the property in downtown. After we dig them, it took us almost 2 weeks to bring them back to downtown, back to shop. And then it looks mess. It doesn't looks good. Looks like a parking lot as an industrial one. I agree, but we remove it after 2 weeks. And it's never happened again, because we don't have any registered companies on our name, like in Lawson. I brought my Manitoba Hydro bill, and I also brought the bill of sales of the cars, that all our address, a business address, it's 260 Jarvis. It's nothing to do with the property on 58 Lawson. We're not mixing the business cars and our private cars.
I'm, Mr. Mayor, I'm just gonna stop them just for a sec. I just, this is a picture from September 17th, where I can count like 10 vehicles of this year, right? So you're talking about February. This is just, you know, a month and a half ago or whatever, so I just was hoping that, Min could bring those pictures up. So I don't think we need to go back as far as the fire, so I think we just need to look
Yeah.
at current day,
Yes,
how many
someti-
vehicles are in your yard today?
Okay, we
Today,
have
4.
today 4, because we abandoned whatever you said for us, we have to have 4. But we asking for our private cars, like we have 4 adults living in our house and 1 child.
Yeah.
We just asking to have at least 2 vehicles, private vehicles. Those that no plates, they actually have home insurance. And when the officer comes there is insurance under the,
Yeah, you're allowed two not plated vehicles.
yeah,
We have 4 dealer plates.
4
It's
dealer
insured.
plates insured.
The
And-
dealer plates are at your business, not your home.
No, we driving those
I'm aware, so I think everybody just wants to get to sort of the end, like, the 10 cars here looks, you know, it's excessive, right? 4 people or not, 4 people are driving 3 cars each.
No, we have like vehicles that at least we would like to ask to have 2 vehicles for each adult living in our house. It's also a family van that we driving in summertime. It's a kind of a family trip that we want to store like and have it in the summertime to have the family trip as count as a family car as well, right? And I know maybe we're asking too much, but we driving those cars, they are insured. 4 of them, each of us from family having a dealer plate. We driving them back and forth.
No.
And those that we're not driving, we gonna store them at our place insured. That means we're gonna put the insurance, they actually insured, all of them.
Storage insurance.
Storage insurance. That we understand that maybe we're asking too much as 10, but at least consider us as we would like to have more than only 1 vehicle for an adult, because it's a summertime. We would like to have our
Small cars,
van
something
and
like this.
small cars. It's
Wintertime,
a
SUV
wintertime.
truck.
It's also consuming of the, you know, we can drive. We would like to drive the vehicles that gonna be less consume gas in a summertime, and the other vehicles that more safety to drive.
Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Kind of a balance for us, just for
and-
privately drive
And I don't
cars.
think, we don't have a problem you having more vehicles, but you also have a triple car garage. Like, I have 5 vehicles myself. I have 1 vehicle parked outside. That's the only thing that's ever at my house, right? You have a triple car garage, and we don't care if you have 10 vehicles each. They just can't be at your property here. Maybe take them to the business, whatever. Your neighbors don't want to see a car lot at their property.
Yeah, our garage we using as a recreational gym, and the maximum we can put just 1 vehicle in a garage, but we just asking, just increase a little bit and have an understanding of family living of 4 and 1 child with disability, just to get kind of like in a proportion, not just only 4, that means it's limit us for only 1, but we also need our van, a family trip, it's already 5. If each of us driving at least 1 car, and the van, it's already 5.
Can you tell me
But
what's
at
happening
least-
here? Come on, look
What
at this.
is-
Tell me, why do you have so many vehicles in your? Why do you
Yeah,
have like?
it's couple times, it was like this, it's right, it was like this, because.
What happened there? How come you had so many vehicles?
Sometimes I move in vehicles. Sometimes I need to remove from my
Charges.
business yard to clean it everything.
Yeah, but we removing them. It's not
It's not
permanent.
every day.
It's not permanent. You know what? When you're driving in our community, like in our streets, like
Yeah.
where we live, you can notice much more cars, like even what we have, parking in their properties. It's kind of, I feel, not fair for us just, you know, to pick on us because somebody complained on us on the times that we struggled with the snowfall and with the fire, and we've been not working for a week because of this fire, and we had the financial loss, we had a trauma, we have everything there, and we've been complained, and we see people having more than just 4 cars parking in their lots, and we feel like so, like why us picking like to be straight 4, but at least compromise for another 1 or 2 to be added it to the needs of our family. That's what we're asking.
Okay, so explain why you want 2 vehicles per adult. Explain that.
For adult?
Isn't that what you were asking for?
Yes, that's what we explain.
And
Tell me if I'm
so-
saying right.
Excuse me, and how many members are in your family? You have how many?
4 adults
4
and
adults,
1 child.
Okay, so there's a total of 5.
Yeah, 4 adults are driving and 1 child with disability.
So are you considered one of the 4 adults, or is those your kids?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
okay.
include us.
That's right, okay.
Yeah, we have 2 adult kids
Yeah.
living with us, and us. It's 4, and we have our family like for family
Camper van.
driving,
Yeah.
camper van, right? It's already 5 because
Okay.
if we're gonna be consider this van as one of my cars, then I don't have a car to drive even and park, right? And we, I'm working in, not in a city. I'm working in a medical field when it doesn't matter the weather, I have to be in a hospital, whatever it's gonna be. And I have a vehicle that has to serve my needs, and I need to be safe driving. That's in the winter time, but I'm not gonna drive this car in the summertime because it's a gas consuming. It's not the ones that we wanna drive in the summertime. We just want to be living like more in affordable way, but also to think we don't want to asking too much, but we want you just consider a bit for our needs, and we in our side we would like to confirm that whatever you decide, if it's going to be an extra vehicle for us to be parked at home at our place, they're going to be placed in a correct way, like that means they're going to be parked in the right ways that they need to be parked, in not just throwing whatever in the grass, and they also all of them gonna have an insurance, the parking insurance. Parking insurance. I don't know how you say that correctly, but storage.
So I guess,
Yeah.
go ahead, Councilor Shea, you had a question.
I just had a question for the planner.
Okay.
How is it written? Is it how many vehicles and then recreational vehicles? Is that separate or is that?
The zoning bylaw says a minimum of 1 parking space and a maximum of 4 parking spaces. It doesn't,
Doesn't differentiate?
not your zoning bylaw, I think your, sorry, I forgot the name of the bylaw. Your vehicle regulatory bylaw, does that outline? That outlines RVs and stuff.
Okay, and then also our planner or whoever from admin, does it state there?
Maximum of 2.
2 and it doesn't differentiate from recreational to,
Maybe is it locked out here?
For recreational vehicles, you could have a maximum of 2.
maximum, so over and above the, so you're saying the van is a recreational vehicle?
yeah, we're using just for the
And-
summertime.
And truck we're not using every day, it's because we're
But we
cleaning
have to
outside.
have a truck too.
Yeah.
That's why we're asking to increase for a bit, like not 4. Please allow us to have additional, like recreational one and 1 truck.
So I understood that earlier you were asking for 2 vehicles per adult.
It's a good scenario. We would
Okay.
like to ask.
Okay, or
We
that's what you would
really,
like to- okay.
yeah, it's our wish that we're gonna have, but we understand maybe we're gonna have less to
Okay,
get.
okay.
And, but for us, it's really hard to manage. Our kid with a disability is our small kid, 3 years old, and she needs an attention too, and sometimes she needs to be driving to the appointments in any weather. And I think it's 4 vehicles, to limit us for 4 vehicles, we feel not offended, but piqued on the neighbors that can park. Sometimes we can see just across of us. I don't want to point the fingers, but you know what, just across us, they
So,
have 2 recreational vehicles and the vehicles they're driving. And we feel that's not fair for us.
Okay, so we're just talking about yours here?
That's right,
If
you're
there's other
right.
ones in the vehicle,
Yeah,
then-
sorry for
okay.
getting into the, yeah.
So I got another question. So you mentioned that you have one individual with disabilities, so does that require a special vehicle or not?
No.
No? Okay. Okay, anyone else have any
Yeah, I have a
questions? Councillor Clyber asked them questions, go ahead.
Just on the A4, the A4 says you can have 4 vehicles, or how many can you have under A4 zoning? Sorry, my computer's not working, so. I can't look it up.
Under the zoning bylaw, it would allow a maximum of 4.
Okay. And 2 RVs.
Yeah, and that is, just to clarify, there's, under the development agreement, there's a limit of 2 recreational vehicles permitted on the property unless they're contained within a garage.
Okay.
Our vehicle bylaw would define recreational vehicles as travel trailers, campers, motorhomes, boats, snowmobiles, motorcycles, those type of vehicles.
Okay.
I have a question for the
But not
planner.
that truck.
If the applicant were to build, say, a detached garage and had the ability to store 10 vehicles in that garage, it's clearly more than the 4, would that be permitted?
Look at me.
It would
I
technically
would-
not be permitted, but.
I would say no.
Well, they're
So-
allowed to build 1,200 square foot or something like that, whatever the square
Yeah.
footage is.
Yeah,
allowed.
so the bylaw notes not vehicles, it notes parking spaces. Okay.
Spaces. Okay.
So if you have, in this case, I understand there's a 3-car garage, so that's 3 parking spaces.
Oh,
And
okay.
if you were to build another garage, you could outline something like that. I believe we had a similar scenario in East St. Paul where the applicant wanted to build an oversized garage and said, I also need a variance for vehicles because in here I can fit 4 vehicles in addition to all the other stuff.
Oh, I see.
So that's your zoning bylaw does not differentiate within or outside. So
Just states on the property.
on the property, that's just a requirement that you need a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 4 parking spaces.
Oh, I see.
So that could be within a garage, or it could be parking pads, whatever you have.
I see. Okay.
Yep. Now, what people tend to do in a detached building after it's built, I have no idea, right? So-
Yeah.
I have a question for the applicants.
Go ahead, Councilor.
So is your business back in operation?
Yeah, it was last year.
Okay. And are you able to store vehicles in your business?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're struggling there too because the area, it's not safe area, right? And we dealing with the vandalizing and destroying the property and the vehicles, of course, too. And it's really like hard to deal with all that stuff, but we have no choice, I guess.
Okay, good. Yeah, thank you. You've answered my question.
Any other questions for the applicants? Okay, thank you. None? Okay, thank you very much. Are there any individuals in favor of the applicant for our planning?
Oh, by the way, I have a letter that 3 of my neighbors signed in a favor of me.
Can we see that?
Yeah,
Yep.
sure.
I'll start it here and send it down.
No one else registered for it in opposition is Norma Elder.
Okay, just hold on. So, this letter, does that get entered into your, people that are in favor of it, or?
We could do that, yes.
Well, how do we know for sure? They could have contacted the RM and been in support of, right?
No, I know, I understand that.
It's technically written the right way, though. They have the letter of intent with the signature, and it's signed below it, so.
But you and I both know lots of times how that is. You don't wanna say no to your neighbor when they're in front of you.
Yeah.
Just to the applicants quickly before we move on. How many do you have now?
On the property?
Mm. How many vehicles do you have on your property right now? Four, okay.
We've been told that we're not allowed to increase the numbers of the cars till we're gonna have a security and we're having 4.
Okay.
Okay, continue on, I'll go to our own planner. You had some opposed, you had none in favor,
Correct.
but you have some opposed?
In opposition is
Opposition?
Norma Albert.
Okay.
Just before the delegation speaks, and I just asked, a thought just popped into my head. I wanted to ask the CEO if they know, how many like RFSs or complaints have you received regarding this specific property in terms of bylaw enforcement concerns? Is it just the one complaint, or is it several over a number of years? I'm just looking for context.
I don't have that information.
Okay. Do you? Thank you.
As our planner, I just see her go against the computer, maybe there was something. I don't know if you were accessing it, so.
Just one opened at the moment. It looks like there were a few from previous years that have been closed.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Norma Alberg, 312 Evelyn Avenue. I am opposed to the application. I have difficulty understanding why 4 adults need 10 vehicles, unless you're Jay Leno maybe, but, so I think I'm gonna leave the discussion of this to your wisdom, but it seems like the complaints that have come in are about viewing all the vehicles, so I guess one solution now could be that they could build a 12-foot fence so that nobody would have to look at the vehicles. Just a suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others?
In opposition and for information is Eleanor Lynn.
Okay.
Eleanor Link, 1045 Toshak Road. It wasn't too long ago when this council turned down an application, I think it was for 14 cars, or more. I think a precedent has been set that we do have a bylaw, and it needs to be reinforced.
Okay.
Thank you.
very much.
For information is Jerry Belinky.
Jerry Blanky, 354 Garden View Drive. I'm against it. I think the 4 is plenty. And then you have 4, but also if you have a visitor, I know of a person just explained to me that they had the same situation, 2 girls and a husband and wife having a car. Visitors come and they look out the window and somebody's writing them a ticket. And they go out there to see what's going on, and you're breaking the bylaw. Visitor coming onto the property is exceeding the limit. So if other jurisdictions can hold to the 4, I think we should hold it here. And these properties, these vehicles are being flowing back and forth from a business. So who's gonna police this? So that, I think this is, just keep it at 4.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, I will then close the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
we have the applicant.
Okay, the applicants.
Yeah. I didn't have it, but you want to rebuttal on anything that was said?
I have a question for the lady. What she would do if she will have six...
Oh,
Excuse me.
it's not a debate, it's just,
Oh,
you have to
no?
like provide closing
Oh,
comments.
okay, we just,
You can,
I can ask
you can turn it into a question to council.
Yeah.
What you would do if you have 6 adults living with you in the house? 2 of them not allowed to have a car. It's like you limited,
How's life?
the life of the person to work, to go freely, to go whatever he wants. He is actually like limited to have a car. And you know
It's not
what,
make sense.
nowadays our adult kids more and more stay living with their parents because they less can afford to buy their own houses. And you know how hard today is put the down payment for the houses. You know how the kids stay in the basement, they big kids, but they studying, right? And when they study in university 5-6 years, they don't have money for down payment to live alone, right? To afford something. And we telling them, do not go and spend your money on go and rent the houses, right? Because like, what are you working for? Somebody to feed him instead of staying home and study and having a good job and then buy a house? Then you actually, by this law, you limit a person to go to university and drive if there is no public transportation there, right? There are some things that we need to consider that I know you're not going to expand this because of me, but you know, as like if you think it's more in a global way of what's happening now, that we live in rural municipalities, it doesn't have this buses going, and my son cannot drive to university by bus. Believe me, I would send him by bus if he is not. But then, if you have 6 adults living with you,
Okay,
2
so-
of them stay home.
So we've understand your comment. Go ahead, Councilor Bichetti.
No, with all due respect, I don't think we'd be looking at this if 6 people lived in the house and there were 6
It
cars.
just-
We have 6 months' worth of pictures here that we've looked at from your property. And in every month, or every picture we have, there's dismantled car, you know, one that's half one color, half another on another picture. I could see if it was the one time when the fire happened, because I remember when the fire happened, but this is ongoing, it's vehicles being rotated from your business back and forth.
You're correct, you're right. It's because
If it was, but I just let me say, you were going that, you know, we're trying to, if we're detouring, if 6 people live in the house, we're not, because I don't think your neighbors or anybody else in the area would be looking at it if you had, you know, 4 kids in the house driving to university, everybody has a different car. That's
can
easily
explain you.
explained to your neighbors. But when we're looking at 6 months' worth of pictures and the cars are changing every single time.
I can explain.
Well, I understand, we had an explanation at the beginning, and, you know, I'm not meaning this in any way, please don't take it that way. But this has been from May to here into October, that we've been looking at different pictures, and it seems like it'll get cleaned up, and then a
We
month later,
understand it, yes.
it does it again, and
If you like it, I can explain you situation of this.
Go ahead.
Because
explain.
because it's our business, right?
Yeah.
Just for example, if I'm sold one car, I take it my dealer plate. I put it on another car and coming home.
That's why you see different cars. But those are our cars as a private cars too, we driving them back and forth because we having those dealer plates. That's how we manage our business too. We ready to stick to whatever you're gonna tell us to do, but we just kindly asking to consider more than 4 cars.
You hear what you said. Any other comments, questions? None? Okay. Thank you very much. Be it resolved that the council do hereby close the public hearing and resume the regular meeting of council. Could I have a mover, please?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Patcan moves. Can I have a seconder, please?
Second.
Councilor Campbell seconds it. Any comments, questions? Go ahead.
I'd like to discuss this between council here because, well, there wasn't a lot said here, and I'd like to see what, what the rest of council thinks about this, because I'm looking at it, I could see if it was the same, 6 vehicles that have been transferred through, the owners, but it's not, so that's where I'm having the problem.
We're
Well-
just closing the public hearing right now.
Oh, I know, but then we go into reading a resolution, so
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
wondering, where do we have discussion on this, at what point?
Oh,
Before we vote.
At the
Before you
resolution.
vote.
I always
Okay.
ask for comments.
Okay. Oh, I know, but there
Okay.
was a question there too, right,
Yeah,
for
no,
comments.
no, that's all right, that's good. Okay, any other, can I call for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none? Carried? Okay. Now we're at 5.2.3. Whereas the applicant from variance 123/24 was received for the property located at 58 Lawson Boulevard to increase the amount of parking spaces permitted for residential dwelling in the A4 agriculture zone to from a maximum of 4 to a maximum of 10, and whereas under the provisions of the Planning Act, a public hearing has been held to hear representations both for and against the application. Therefore, be it hereby resolved that after careful consideration, Council of the RM of West St. Paul hereby approves variance order 123/24 with the following conditions. This variance is limited to what has been presented in this application. Any further changes, replacements, or additions would require a new variance approval. Subject property is to adhere to the RM of West St. Paul's Vehicle Regulatory Bylaw 2018-11. Number 3, no motor vehicles other than passenger motor vehicles shall be parked on the property unless concealed in a wholly enclosed garage, expecting 2 recreational vehicles in accordance with development agreement registered to the property. And 4, automobile sales and commercial automobile repairs are not permitted. The variance order will expire and cease to have any effect if it is not acted upon within 12 months of the date of the decision. A board, council, or planning commission may extend the deadline under subsection 1 for an additional period no longer than 12 months if an application is received before the initial date. Could I have a mover, please?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Catacan moves it. Can I have a seconder, please? Councilor Bichetti seconds it. Any comments, questions? Councilor
I think
Oh.
Councilor Bichetti wanted to
Yeah,
speak.
you want
No, I said my piece there, I just wanted to know
Okay.
when are we discussing to?
I can have a.
Oh,
I
okay.
can start the discussion.
Go ahead, start.
Yeah, so on this one, the applicant, first of all, it sounds like this has been a recurring problem for some time. And I was looking at Google Maps and, I saw different vehicles, a number of vehicles, sometimes 9, sometimes 11. I also looked at the file that we received here, and we have pictures from May till October of a number of vehicles. It is in excess of what we allow within the RM, and this is sort of intertwined with the applicant's business, and I'm glad to hear that the applicant does have a business where they can locate the vehicles, but I would support the enforcing the maximum of 4 vehicles at this particular property.
Councilor Clyburn, do you have any comments?
I'm still thinking.
Okay. Councilor Campbell?
Yeah, you know, I can take into consideration what they're asking for, you know, what they're asking for at the beginning with 2 for everyone. What I would be okay with is 6, and if that is, you know, caught to be, you know, in violation constantly, then it reverts back to the 4.
Okay. Councilor Bichetti?
I would agree with what Councillor Campbell has to say. Go up to 6. There is 4 drivers, so I know I like to have a spare car at home. If one doesn't start, at least somebody's got a backup.
I'd be fine with 6, given, with sort of, I'm not gonna say probationary, but it's, if there's continuous complaints and concerns in the neighborhood, then we can revisit and, bring it back down. to
Yeah,
4,
as
Councilor Campbell said.
Well, I'm okay with 6, but I would remove the 2 RVs that are allowed. Then it's either 6 cars, and that's it, and no RVs.
So 6 total.
6
vehicles.
6 total. You can count the RVs as 2 if you wanna put the vehicles on there, or that's it, no, nothing else.
6 registered vehicles.
Yep.
So RVs already permitted? On a-
Yep, 2.
2.
So we're still going down to 4 cars though?
No,
Right.
no, we said
6, we're saying we're allowing 6 vehicles.
6 in
6
total.
registered vehicles.
According to the planner, it states that 4 are permitted
Yeah. And
Max.
altogether. It doesn't
Yeah.
differentiate
Doesn't differentiate.
the RVs to the vehicles. It says 4 vehicles.
So we can say
Oh, okay.
6 vehicles, but then no
Maximum.
RVs.
Well, you
I
don't,
would say
you don't even have to
You
say
don't need
that.
to- you don't need to say
6
that.
motor vehicles,
Yeah.
period.
Okay.
They can do any mix that they want. So,
Okay. So
But with that condition, how did you word that, Councillor Campbell?
What did I say? It's,
if it's, if
but
they
there
continue,
continues
if
to
they're
be
in,
concerns about
Yeah.
exceeding
yeah,
the
if they're
6.
exceeding the
Yeah.
6, right, if we
Yep.
get complaints with them exceeding the 6, then we knock it back down to the 4.
Okay.
Automatically reverts back down to the 4.
the Red River Planning Planner has something?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to remind council, under the Planning Act, if a council can revoke the variance approval if the applicant or the owner of the property fails to comply with the variance order or the condition. So if you list the condition with the maximum number of vehicles and you find that they're in violation, then you can pull that approval in the future.
So if we're getting RFSs or something, requests for services or complaints and like that, that would automatically, or wouldn't automatically, but we would see it as a violation.
violation
and then-
of-
It'd have to come to you for a resolution,
Yeah.
but that sounds like
Yeah.
like a trigger point. for-
Right.
yeah.
Yep, okay.
Okay. Okay, you all right with that then?
Can
So
we,
we can add that,
Can I just ask the MLO to,
Sure.
what would the wording be in this regard, with regards to the vehicles? Like, how are we wording it? Because there was discussion of,
The only change would be from the maximum, 4 maximum to 6 maximum.
6 maximum, okay.
okay.
And in that regard, so if they have 6 registered vehicles and then somehow or another, there's a 7th unregistered vehicle, that's in violation, correct?
I wouldn't specify registered or
Doesn't matter,
unregistered.
okay, so any type of vehicle, registered or unregistered.
Our
6.
bylaw has provisions
Okay.
for unregistered, whether they have a suitable cover, et cetera. I would just leave it to the parking spaces.
Okay.
Okay. So then it's coming down, we're going from 4 to 6 parking spaces then, correct? Okay. Okay, can I call for the
Or
vote?
do you need a mover?
Sure.
You-
Yep.
You have a mover and second.
Oh, we do,
Second,
okay.
yeah.
So can I call for the vote on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, carried. Go down to resolution 6.1.
Okay, just so you know,
Cool.
just for the applicants arena, you have 6 now?
No, it's closed, we can't ask anymore,
No.
can't ask.
No question, clarification.
You can
You
speak
can ask
with
to
our
the
planner or
staff, yeah.
MLO and they'll explain to
Yeah.
you
Okay.
after, yeah.
So resolution subdivision 24-306. Be it resolved that the Council of Municipality of West St. Paul under section 125 of the Planning Act approve subdivision application S24-3064 of the property located at 432 Moore Road to subdivide 10 lots into 2 lots with proposed lot measuring 2 acres and proposed lots lot 2 measuring 8 acres in the RR residential zone, subject to the following conditions. Applicant owner submits confirmation in writing from the Chief Administrative Officer of the municipality that taxes on the land be subdivided for the current year plus any arrears has been paid or arrangements satisfactory to council has been made. Payments for any applicable development levies have been paid. Drainage/lot draining plan to be prepared by a qualified engineer to the satisfaction of the municipality and to ensure that the proposed property do not drain into or impede drainage from neighboring properties. A development agreement has been entered into to address the following but not limited to 1. Development fees, 2. Servicing, 3. Access draining lot grading plans to be prepared by a qualified engineer and submitted prior to any developments to the satisfaction of the municipality, and to ensure that the proposed property does not drain into or impede drainage from neighboring properties. 2. Applicant owner submits written confirmation from Manitoba Hydro that easement agreements have been entered into with Manitoba Hydro and Central Gas Manitoba with respect to existing and future facilities associated with the subdivision, and the plan of easement as required by the Real Property Act has been provided. Registration of these agreements will be included as a conditional of final certificate of approval. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Kleiber moves.
I'll second, and I just wanted to,
Could we see the application before we vote?
Mhm.
Could we have the planner give us the application?
well, I just wanted to clarify something, 'cause so the way that, I don't know if it's worded that way, but the way that you read it is that it's a 10 lot, it is not, right?
It's a 10-acre lot.
Yeah, it's a 10
It's an
acre
acre
lot.
lot.
Yeah,
So-
it's a 10 acre lot with 2 acres being peeled off of it.
Why don't I just take you through it?
Yeah,
please,
let
thank you.
the
Sure.
planner actually give us the application.
So it's 432 Moore Road, and the applicant just wants to split off one additional lot here. So it's a fairly straightforward application. There's the subject property at the air photo. You can see lots of rural residential lots in the neighborhood. And here is the subdivision application map. And it's not too clear on the screen here. I'm just going to use my laser pointer. Here's where the new lot would be, this little rectangle there. So,
Okay.
got it? Perfect.
Alright,
So the new lot would be 2 acres in size, the existing lot would be, or the residual lot would be 8 acres in size. This adheres to all of your zoning bylaw requirements for size and area, as well as width. There were no concerns from the government departments or agencies, just easements, as you pointed out, Mr. Mayor, in your resolution. I think that's all I have, unless you have some questions.
Council have any questions?
The only.
Go ahead, Councillor
Yeah, the only
Campbell.
comment I'll make, and because I've done subdividing before, is the main lot would already have easements for hydro running along it, so I don't know if that's, and then my only other question is, if this is just a one-lot subdivision, do we typically do DAs on a one-lot subdivision, yeah?
Yeah.
Because then you have to get lawyer involved, et cetera, right?
Not typically for a one-lot subdivision.
Okay.
Can I ask the planner, where is Moore Avenue on this drawing?
To the left of the screen.
To the left.
I'll try and get the,
To the left of the left of the gray.
It's the frontage.
there it
Okay,
is
right
there.
yeah, okay. Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, can I call for the vote then? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, carried. Now we go to resolution 6.2, subdivision 24-3069.
Can we see the application before you read the resolution?
Sure, by all means.
Thanks.
Okay, so this is application S243069. It's for a property located on Pipeline Road. The applicant would like to take the one lot and make it into two lots. One of them being acre and a third, and the other one being 10.2 acres in size. So there's the subject property. You can see there with Pipeline to the east and Conbyre just to the south there. And here is the applicant's subdivision application map. So subdividing off the existing house to Pipeline with Conbyre being the, I guess we can say the frontage or the access for the residual 10-acre lot. Similar to the last one, this is also a rural residential zone. This adheres to all of the lot area and lot width requirements. This has been circulated to the government departments. There are no real issues of concern. Just that the applicant will have to get confirmation from Manitoba Conservation Climates that they've met all required conditions. That has to do with the septic field and that sort of thing. So they are a little hazy on their requirements, so it looks like they want a second look at this. I should note actually that the property abuts Conbyre, but there's actually a I'm just going to X out of this. There's actually an old, I guess what we would call a grudge strip back in the day, a 1 foot wide grudge strip. So every property has to have frontage, direct frontage onto a road. I'm just seeing if I can bring it up here. Oh, it's not showing on the screen. Do you know why this wouldn't?
Does the second proposed lot have frontage on the road?
How do I?
You'd have to go to your display here.
Where do I do that? Here?
I know, it's hard to see.
No.
That's what I'm
No, on your
concerned about,
desktop.
because there's no frontage here.
Oh,
So the frontage is
Right hand click.
technically gonna be onto
Display.
Conbyre, but like you said,
And
it's
then-
right onto Conbyre.
On this part, the grudge strip, right?
Where?
Well,
this
here's
one?
lot two,
I know.
so where is it gonna?
No.
He's gonna try and show us.
Oh, duplicate?
I'm bringing this up here.
Duplicate. Oh, there we go. Okay.
There's a
Keep
grudge
the.
strip right here.
Sure. I don't care.
So they're splitting this to.
Okay, there we go. So here's the subject property. You can see 3150 there, and if I zoom way in,
Oh, there's right here.
you can see there's just a little strip there.
Yeah.
So, but that is not a big issue as I see it this time. That's why we've added in condition number 2, that the applicant owner provide written confirmation from the municipality that the property at the north end of Conbyre, this 1 foot wide strip, has been incorporated into the Conbyre Road right-of-way. So once that takes place, then this new lot would have direct road frontage, right?
Where?
It would have onto Conbyre, onto here.
No, because they're separating the front, sorry, Mr. Planner. They're separating the front property where the house is, that would be your pipeline access, and the back property would access through from Conbyre.
Yeah,
And where?
so,
So it would go onto Minnick Road or onto
Conbyre.
Conbyre?
so that's kind of what's happening there.
No, I
Right?
realize
This
that,
front
but
property.
We'll have this lot,
this is all one big square.
Yeah.
have about 2 acres and change, or about 1 1/3 acres, and then we got about 10 acres in the back here that would have
This front
access
section.
to Conbyre.
Stay one.
And in order to have that direct frontage, we have that condition that the little 1 foot wide grudge strip gets rolled into the road right of
Oh,
way.
they don't own, I thought this was what was going on.
No, no.
Oh.
It's
So this application has, right now it's, what's the it's 10 acres, whatever you said it was here? Or 10.2 acres, that's the total lot size, or 12?
It's almost 12 acres.
12 acres, so they're gonna go down to 1.3 acres?
Yep,
That's
for the
what I
front,
was-
for the Pipeline Road section.
So that means they're gonna have to go to a holding tank?
I believe that's why Conservation wants to have a look at it, and that's that third condition.
Yeah, they need to. Yeah.
Another holding tank.
Oh, yeah. So they own that whole, I guess my question is, why would they go to 1.37 acres when they know they're gonna have to go to a holding tank?
Couldn't tell you.
I mean,
If you went 2 acres, you wouldn't have.
Yeah, I know, right? It's their land, they're
Yeah.
not really
Yeah.
costing them anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, I don't know.
No,
we can't,
we're waiting for,
we can't
we're
because it's
just
not a
having a
public
discussion,
hearing.
and then the applicant, if that's you, will come up in a second.
No,
No.
there's no
Oh, there
public
is no
hearing in this.
discussion.
Subdivision.
Oh,
Subdivision
because it's
approval.
on an existing road.
Yeah, it makes
Ah.
it difficult.
So I guess,
They're on a,
We haven't passed that yet. Well, I think the thing is, what did conservation say about this?
Yeah.
They're having a look through, they haven't said,
Yeah.
but it's gonna be a holding tank.
But it's part of it
Yeah,
existing.
it probably would
So,
be.
Yeah, we can't do septic field one.
Which,
You want a septic field?
yeah, in that area.
It's too
yes.
small. Only 1.3 septic.
any other questions? Still thinking?
So to the planner, it says here, environmental compliance and enforcement has reviewed the above noted subdivision and is unable to provide a comment. Additional information required on the existing septic field and tank, specifically the setback distances of the septic field and tank to the proposed property boundary, the well, and the dwelling.
So they're basically leaving it open there that if they don't, they could allow it and they could not allow it, but right now they're not giving the person any answers.
Well, that basically means they could,
Yeah.
if we approve this, however, conservation could come the next day and say they need to put in a holding tank.
Yeah.
Can we table it until we hear back from conservation?
well, it sounds like conservation wants more detailed information from the applicants. So,
I'd like to hear back from conservation.
I think it's the proximity of the septic field to the new lot, isn't it?
it's, my understanding is that there is a setback distance that conservation has for wells and tanks and fields from new property lines.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they're unclear of exactly what that distance is. So depending on what it is, they might be okay with it, or they might require something different.
And in your dealings, and I'm sorry, applicant, you can't speak, but in your dealings with the applicant, are they fine with the holding tank? Are they aware that they might have to go to a holding tank? What that
Couldn't tell you.
means? No? Okay.
I mean, this application is creating more density in the neighborhood, and if it is a septic field, that could be problematic for existing property owners, I feel. So I'd like to hear back from conservation, just so we can make an informed decision. I think it's important that we have a comment back.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Planner.
The other option afforded to council is that if you are not satisfied with the proposed lot size, you can always make a condition that that be altered. So you could make a fourth condition that the applicant adjusts the boundary line so that lot 1 is at minimum 2 acres in size. You can do that. Of course, the applicant always has the option to appeal that to municipal board, but that's within council's purview if you so wish.
The proposed width, though, is still not in keeping with the septic field. It's 190 feet. And there's only so much width at the front, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they have a septic field, and I think that's from the old zoning, where 1.377, you could have a septic field, and then the zoning changed. Didn't it?
Well, it's 12 acres existing,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I believe the old rules used to be 198 feet wide and 60,000 square feet, which is 1.37 acres. I believe
Yeah.
now it's
Yeah.
2 acres and
Now
so,
it's
yeah.
2 acres and 198.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how'd that happen? We'll never know. I don't like holding tanks because it causes problems, but if the applicant's aware and that they're okay with having a holding tank, we don't want the sludge in the ditch. That's what's happening on a lot of holding tanks, is everything's going into the ditch. So in that area, we're trying to avoid it because they can do the septic field. I'd like to hear from Environment to see if they would grandfather that.
Is council concerned that even if 2 acres is met with the not meeting the lot width, that a field wouldn't be allowed anyways? Is that one of your concerns, or is that information you'd maybe like from conservation? We could always float that by them.
If
I would like that.
conservation would approve it as is with the septic field, what do they want? Like, what do they want in order for the applicant to keep the septic field?
Right. So if council wishes to table this pending some more information from conservation, we could ask conservation a couple of questions. We could ask them at the acre and a third size, would they be able to grant a, can't remember the terminology they use, I think a tolerance to allow what's there to remain, as well as even if this were increased to 2 acres in size, with the inadequate width, would conservation allow for a field to be there?
Yeah.
It might be a moot point either way, but if you want that information, we'd be happy to ask them, see if we can get it.
I'd like to hear that, because it's, I mean,
I would too.
they're the authority on that.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's important to hear it.
How long can we table it?
Good
What's our
question.
time limit?
I believe you have time limits based on public hearings. You don't have
Also, there's no
limits.
time limit.
I don't believe so, no. I believe the only time limit that comes into play is the planning district board has to make a decision within 60 days once council passes a resolution.
Okay, so we could bring this back in January?
We can bring it back in January, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like to know what's gonna happen here, and I would like the applicant to know what's gonna happen, because, and I don't know if the applicant's aware of what a holding tank would cost once it's put in, because we have people complaining that they're pumping 3 times a month, and that's $600 a month at least.
Sure.
So it's all your gray water, it's everything. So when you're going from a septic field to a holding tank, it gets very expensive. So I just want the applicant to be aware of that and see what environmental would allow us to do here.
So we can float a couple of these scenarios by conservation and see what they give us. If
Yeah,
that sounds good?
yeah,
Yes.
let's do
Okay.
that.
Not a problem.
Okay,
Okay, so we're gonna table this?
table it to the January planning meeting?
Well, I guess I was gonna ask the planner, how fast do you think conservation will answer your questions?
This time of year, it's hard to know
Yeah,
with the holiday season coming up. But what we can do is we can send off an email to them immediately just to at least get it into their system. And we have this specific person who commented on this. So.
also,
Yeah, so we'll see what we can get.
We're hopeful.
so, what would you recommend we table this till then?
January.
Because there's no public hearing involved, you do not have to outline a date.
Okay,
So you could just.
We could say January, and if you need more time, we could table it to February.
Sure, that would be fine.
So,
Yep.
okay,
Yep, we'll let your administration know when we get a response, and we have that more information.
Okay.
sounds good.
Thank you, council.
so table to January planning meeting?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, we haven't read the resolution yet, so we're okay with that. Are we, Lena? Procedurally?
Correct, you don't need to pass a resolution, we
Okay.
can just have the instruction to table it to January 9th.
okay,
Sounds good.
so now we're down to 7.1, regular meeting of November 28th. The minutes, be it resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on November 28th, 2024 be approved. Could I have a mover, please?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Council Pat Camrose, can I have a
Second.
planners, Councilor Kleiber, any comments, questions? Hearing none, can I call for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none.
Carried.
Carried. 7.2, 2024 Board of Revisions minutes. Be it resolved that the minutes of the 2025 Board of Revision minutes. Be it resolved that the minutes of the 2025 Board of Revisions held on November 6, 2024 be approved as presented. Could I have a mover, please?
So moved.
Councilor Clyber moves, can I have a seconder, please? Councilor Bichetti seconds it. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, can I call for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, carried. No delegations, where are we here now? We're nine. Bylaws for consideration, none, 10, nothing. Oh, 10.1, accounts received for information. Anyone have any questions about the accounts? Hearing none. 10.2,
For, yeah,
accounts,
oh, yeah, all right.
received for information. 10.2, there's also accounts received for information. Any questions from council on it? Okay, hearing none. No 11, nothing on financial statements, 12.1. Financial statements for the period ending October 31st, 2024. Be it resolved that the Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul approves the financial statements for the period ending October 31, 2024. Could I have a mover, please?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Patrick moves. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second.
Councilor Kleiber seconds. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, can I call for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, carried. We have number 13, the CAO's report. Be it resolved that the Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul accept the CAO's report as information. Can I have a mover, please?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Patrick moves. Can I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Councilor Bichetti seconds it. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, can I call for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, carried. Taken down to 15.1, miscellaneous meeting dates. Be it resolved that the Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul authorize attendance of the following meetings. Meeting with the CAO and MLO for review and agenda. Deputy Mayor.
We're okay with these dates. I'm okay with these dates. I've read them all, they're good.
Okay, everyone all right? Councilor Bichetti?
Just to add, November 4th, I missed one. The meeting with Minister Schmidt, I attended also.
Okay.
Myself, the CAO, and the mayor.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so can I call for do I have a mover for this, please?
I'll move.
Councilor Clyber moves, can I second it? Councilor Bichetti seconds it. Can you call for a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, carried. 15.2, 2025 emergency plan. Be it resolved that the Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul approve the 2025 emergency plan as submitted. Can I have a mover, please?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Councilor Bichetti seconds it. Councilor Clyber moves it. Any comments, questions? I do have one. I've thought of what was talked about here the other night, and I do not feel comfortable with the way that it was presented, written, so I will not be supporting this resolution. Can I call for the vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? One carried. 15.3, 2023 spending authority. Be it resolved that the Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul, in accordance with subsection 163 of the Municipal Act, adopt an interim operating budget to be effective only until such time Council has adopted the operating budget for 2025 fiscal year. Now therefore be it resolved that the following interim operating budgets be hereby approved. I'll just give a total. It's 3.67 million. Could I have a mover for that, please?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Paquin moves. Councilor Bichetti seconds it. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, can I call for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, carried. 15.4. 2024 Canada Reserve Fund Transfer. Be it resolved that the Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul to leave the 2024 Canada Day Surplus Fund of $18,980.92 in the operating surplus for 2024. Could I have a mover, please?
I'll move.
Councilor Bichetti moves. Can I have a seconder, please?
A second.
Councilor Campbell seconds it. Any comments or questions?
Yep.
Councilor Pactican?
Yeah, so I just want to get some clarification on this, because at our discussion at the Committee of the Whole, there was some, so maybe if I could maybe ask the MLO or the CAO to provide some information with regards to the question about, there's a reserve amount for this, and we're looking to move this amount in excess from the candidate reserve to another reserve, is that correct?
No.
No. Okay, what are we doing here?
We're leaving it as an operational surplus, and then leave ourselves open to transfer it into a reserve at a later date.
So the
General
operating
surplus.
surplus, does that mean that this money can now be used for other than Canada Day?
If council so desires, or they could apply to the Canada Day Reserve at the end of the year.
Okay, so that's where my concern is, because some of the surplus was from sponsorships, from community businesses, entities, and for the intended purpose of Canada Day.
Not necessarily, the surplus itself could be the operating contribution.
I think
That's right.
Yeah.
And how do we know that? You said not necessarily, how do we know?
Well, it's a surplus of the overall funding amount.
Mhm.
And the surplus amount itself is just under $19,000, but there was an operating line amount of $50,000.
So take the $50,000 out and
Your minus.
balance it, and you're 18,000, you're in the hole, right?
Mhm.
Right. So there is an operating contribution in excess of the sponsorships, regardless of what you do with the surplus.
There was a what, sorry? Just
Regardless of what you do with the surplus.
Can you rephrase that for me, sorry?
There is an operating budget contribution to Canada Day
From council.
from council in excess of the sponsorship amounts,
Understood.
regardless of what you do with the surplus.
What about the sponsorships from community entities and businesses?
Yeah, those would be 100% exhausted.
They would be
Expenses.
exhausted?
Yeah, through expenses.
Okay.
Councilor Shetty?
So basically, council puts in the $50,000 as if we're getting no sponsorship. Then we get sponsorship that puts us, I guess, into the green of running it, and then we put back what we what we didn't need, which was
Well,
basically.
right now, we're not putting anything back. Right now, we're leaving it as an operation.
Yeah, leaving it
surplus.
back in
And then-
operation.
And then at the end of the year, when we transfer into surplus, we can allocate it as deemed appropriate. And that could be to the Canada Day Reserve, that could be to another reserve.
It could be into the
General.
appropriation that we have to put into that reserve every year. So it could be this part
That's
taken
already,
at a later
that
time.
amount's already been contributed. though.
But there's, again, coming up on the next budget, so.
Unless there's a change to the
Unless there's a
policy.
change. But
So-
right now, we're basically just the operating expense was put out by the RM as if we had no sponsorship. We ended up getting sponsorship, so we're putting some, we're leaving it there.
Just leaving it.
Well, yeah, we're just leaving.
Just so it
yes.
doesn't look bad that we took sponsorship from businesses and residents, and I understand what Councillor Bactican's saying. We put it out there we knew what it's cost to run the Canada Day.
To cover any shortfall
So,
in
if-
sponsorship.
yeah, so if we get nothing, this is a security that the
Yeah.
event still goes on.
And in fact, there is an operating contribution that did offset the shortfall in sponsorships that would have been required for 100% of the cost of the operation.
Okay.
So, okay.
And any more questions?
I'm just gonna say, to our CEO, this is just a matter of where you're transferring the funds from.
That's.
At a later date. Right now, we're not transferring it.
Right, so, I mean, if it's the operating fund, you could have transferred what you needed from the Canada Day Reserve in to offset the operating.
Yes,
So it's just a matter of transferring accounts back and forth.
absolutely.
Yeah, so technically speaking, the sponsorship has all been used, and you're compensating and adding from the operating fund.
Sponsorship and operating funds have been used.
Yeah,
There's more, there is some operating funds left over that weren't used because sponsorship contributions were higher than anticipated.
okay.
So I have just sort of question. So all these individuals, maybe I can ask rec director, or Mike, our councilor Patrick of the Recreation Committee. So all these sponsorships that donated money, they all got recognized for their sponsorship.
They did.
They did.
Yeah.
So it's well aware that these contributions that they made were towards the Canada
Canada
Day
Day
Fund
Fund.
because they were recognized for that. So,
Correct.
and I think, okay, that's,
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that there weren't any excess funds from those sponsorships going into, you know, for use other than Canada Day. That's all.
Yes.
And it sounds like there's a good reason, so
Okay.
I'm fine with it. Thank you.
okay, any other questions? Comments? None? Okay, can I call for the vote? All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, carried. There was nothing, so, nope. Okay, now we're going in camera, number 18. Be it resolved that in accordance with section 152(3) of the Municipal Ad Council does now move in camera to discuss matters that are in preliminary stages, respecting which discussion the public could prejudice the municipality's ability to carry out its activities or negotiations and a report of the ombudsman. Be it further resolved that the accordance with subsection 83 of the Municipal Act, any issues that are discussed are kept confidential until discussed at a regular meeting. Could I have a mover, please?
So moved.
Councilor Bichetti moves, Councilor Clyber seconds it. We've come out of camera, we have a couple of resolutions. Development Agreement 23-3029, be it resolved that Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul approve the development agreements of subdivisions S23-029 for the property located at 650 Blackdale Road. Be it further resolved that the mayor and CEO be authorized to sign the development agreement. Can I have a mover, please?
I'll move.
So,
Councilor Pichetti moves. Seconder, please.
Second.
Councilor Clyber seconds it. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, can I call for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor?
Okay, one miss. All right, yes, okay, be it resolved, thank you. Be it resolved that Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul approve the development agreements for subdivision 23-3005 for the property located at 718 Willis Road. Be it further resolved that the mayor and CEO be authorized to sign the development agreement. Could I have a mover, please?
so moved.
Councilor Clyber moves, seconder, please.
I'll second.
Councilor Paxton seconds it. Comments? Hearing none, can I call for the vote?
Aye.
Aye.
All in favor? Good. Pass. 18.3.3, Development Agreement S24-3042. Be it resolved that the Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul approve the development agreement for subdivision S24-3042 for the property located at 340 Jackman Road. Be it further resolved that that mayor and the CEO be authorized to sign the development agreement. Could I have a mover, please?
I'll second.
Okay, Councilor Bichetti moves, Councilor Clyber seconds. Can I call for the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 18.3.5, conditional use 7424, 1500 Pipeline Road. We had discussed that. That was received as information. 18.3.6, Manitoba Ombudsman file resolution. Be it resolved that the Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul accept the Manitoba Ombudsman report to file number MO000396-2018-04. Could I have a mover, please?
So moved.
Councilor Clyber moves. Can I have a seconder, please? Councilor Bichetti seconds it. And be it resolved that...
Call for the question?
Oh, call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah. We discussed this one.
No, we weren't going to do that one.
No, we discussed it. It's just-
Oh, yeah, okay, we discussed zoning bylaw, and we also discussed procurement bylaw.
Procedure.
Procedures.
Procedural bylaw.
The procedure bylaws, right, thank you. Now it's, be it resolved that the meeting of council now stand adjourned at 10 o'clock PM. Can I have a mover, please?
I'll move.
Councilor Bichetti moves, Councilor Campbell seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, adjourned.